All right, good. Stand for the pledge and we'll start the I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
roll call.
Dan Pillow,
Here.
Lisa Stafford. Here. Dan Dalton,
Here.
Ann Pillow,
Here.
Linda Martin, Pam Jackson.
Here. And council, like I said a little bit ago, Linda will not be here due to her grandson's game. What's your pleasure on that?
I'll make a motion to accept her absence.
I'll second it.
Motion by Pam, second by Lisa. Any discussion? No discussion, we'll vote.
Dan Pillow,
Yay.
Lisa Stafford.
Yay.
Dan Dalton,
Yay.
Ann Pillow,
Yay.
Pam Jackson.
Okay.
And before moving to the clerk's report or anything, I figured we would go ahead and start with our Addyston Housing Action Plan presentation by Liz Blue.
Thank you. Good evening, Council. Thank you very much for having me. Again, my name is Liz Bloom, and I work at the Community Building Institute at Xavier. The Community Building Institute and LISC, the Local Initiative Support Corporation, are in contract with the county, with Hamilton County, to put together a series of housing action plans. Yours is one of them. And I want to give you, I want to thank you, Mear, for getting us all hooked up here, and now I seem to be frozen.
Oh, no.
So, what I can tell you is that Hamilton County asked jurisdictions throughout the county who are interested in putting a housing study together, who wanted to participate, and you were among the first 5. You raised your hand. The peers in your group include Silverton, Deer Park, Norwood, and Cvbg. Yeah. Thank you. What did you do? Sorry. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you to the mayor for her IT support. So I will give you a sense, the county, particularly the Cvbg funds and a number of other county resources are available, have had historically not been used for housing. As the county and a number of local jurisdictions sort of survived the housing crisis in 2008 and lived out of that, and housing markets changed, the county said, are there communities that would like to work on housing? So that's where we are. So the purpose of the study was to analyze housing trends locally in each of the jurisdictions. I've also made a lot of comparisons to Hamilton County overall, to help local jurisdictions think about how they might develop strategies to address weaknesses in their housing market and to partner with the county to do something about that. So that's basically the gist of the study. The county wanted to work with local jurisdictions who wanted to think about these issues and wanted to make applications to the county for resources that are available, and wanted to make sure that jurisdictions had the technical support to do that. So that's where CBI and LISC came in. And I will also say, because I want to give proper due to the county, we worked really closely with the Hamilton County Planning and Community Development Departments, and their staff were just part of the team. So they're well aware of where we are. The process, and for those of you that I interviewed, thank you very much. We appreciate the time people took. We did a series of interviews in the village to talk to people about their thoughts, what they thought was going on in the housing market. We also did some data analysis, demographics, housing market conditions, sales prices, rent ranges, those sorts of things, and we'll talk about them. We also did some field investigation. So this should look familiar to you. This is your land use map. I always like to start with the map of Addyston. This is your land use map. You see residential uses, commercial uses scattered throughout. You have some higher density residential uses as well, but this is not a surprise. You know what your land use map. So I want to give you first a summary of the interview findings. Addyston has a lot of assets. This is a great community. You have great river views. People are happy with the quiet in this community, with the pace of life. You have the new Main Street Park. People think Three Rivers School District is an asset and an asset to the housing market. People feel generally favorable about the school district. Not true in all communities, I will tell you that. This is an old community, you have lovely historic resources. That comes with some baggage, but you have resources and you have bones that other communities don't have. You also have your own water system, which is also a blessing and a curse. Mostly a blessing. When it breaks, it's a curse. Redevelopment sites, there's one north on Church Street. You have some single-family infill sites that are a possibility, and you have a big corporate taxpayer. All of those serve you well. The challenges that people identified in the conversations that we had were that zoning and land use may not be up to date and may not be serving the objectives and the vision that the village has for itself. I'm not telling you anything new. You have some obsolete infrastructure, hillsides, roads, sewer and water lines that are slipping and that need to be upgraded. And that contributes to blighting property conditions. There's some residential properties that are definitely in need of repair. Some are probably in need of demolition. You have relatively low residential real estate market prices. And I'm going to unpack that a little bit and talk about that a little bit. Also some limited commercial opportunities. So I don't know if you guys have seen your 2020 numbers, but you're up almost 5% between 2010 and 2020, which was, now you're back up to 927 people, which is, as I said, up almost 5% from 2010. I will probably say a little bit more about demographics than you want to hear, but so because this is a relatively small population, the way that the census is conducted between decennial censuses, they do these rolling averages. It's called the American Community Survey between 15 and 19. Because you're a small jurisdiction, those hits may not be as accurate for you. And so you saw a population decline over those years, which was probably real, but what you're seeing now is a bit of an increase. I think you've lost households. So the difference is population is everybody counted individually. Households are the number of households, units. There may be 2 people, there may be 4 people, there may be 1 person. You also lost housing. And your household size in the ACS is listed as 2.5, which is a bigger household size than a lot of other communities. One of the fastest growing market segments of household is single people. You do have significantly less single person households. I mean, so as you look at this bar chart here, you're the light blue and Hamilton County is the dark blue. So what you see is that you have significantly fewer single person households in the county as a whole. You have more non-family households, which are people who live together who are not married or related in some kind of way. You have more families without children. You have slightly more married households with children than the county average and slightly fewer single person households with children. So this is a community that has this growing number, and I'm going to go to the next. And so we also did a cut by generations, which seems better in some ways than ages. You've all heard people talk about millennials now, and Gen Xers, and baby boomers, and matures. So what you can see is that you've got I think maybe would surprise some people if you think of Addyston as a long-time traditional community, lots of long-term residents. You have a younger population than a lot of other communities, a younger population than the county overall, which is interesting. I think there's this trend that is starting to drive through some of this data, which is you have single-person households and unrelated people living together, and they're younger, and that's what you're seeing here. 71% of the housing units. Now I'm going to switch, I was talking about people, now I'm going to switch to housing units, 71% of which are in single-family homes here in Addyston. 25% of the units you have are in small multis, you have no large multifamily units, and 4% of the units in the village are in 2-family homes. Now, I'm going to make the point again that this is a relatively small community. So when I say 4% of the units are in 2-family homes, that's not very many units, right? You have 350 occupied units and 85 vacant units. 85 vacant units is a lot of units in a small town like this. This is your home sales. This was what was reported in you see a chart like that, it's a big old draft. And it's real, and I think it's telling us something. You are one of the few jurisdictions in Hamilton County that saw a decline in home sales, median home sale values. But I want you to keep in mind that the 2019 number, which was the big drop, only represents 5 sales. So, this is a real decline and it's real numbers, but it's not a horrible, shocking statistic. What it is 5 sales that were probably very deteriorated property. So, it is something to pay attention to. It's something that the press paid attention to when we probably a couple of months ago had that conversation, but it's not the end of the world is what I'm saying. So when you talk about housing, and I'm going to talk about cost burden in a minute here, it's important to understand how much a house costs either to own or to rent, and how much income a household has to pay for the house. What you see is that average or annual median household income in Addyston is slightly lower than overall Hamilton County. White households, not significantly less, but less than overall Hamilton County. Renters in Addyston, and here the shaded column is Addyston and the white column is Hamilton County. Renters in Addyston have relatively higher median incomes than renters overall in Hamilton County, which maybe suggests, and you have more rental property than you might imagine, which maybe suggests that there's some solid rental property in Addyston. Owners have slightly lower household incomes than overall Hamilton County. So a cost burden household is a household that spends more than 30% of their income on their housing. And the reason that that is relevant, and the reason that somebody might care about that, is households that are spending more than 30% of their income on housing don't have enough money to deal with all the other stuff households have to deal with. Their transportation costs, their education costs, their medical costs, their food, all of the other things you have to do to have a reasonable life. So what we know is that I'm going to talk first about cost burden homeowners, and there are not very many. This is not a community with cost burdened owners. And in some communities, there are lots of old, and again, we're seeing some themes here. One of the population segments that is typically cost burdened and owners are seniors. Seniors who are on fixed incomes, who are in properties they've been in for a long time, who don't have the kind of money to do the kind of maintenance that needs to be done. We have a lot of properties that have a lot of deferred maintenance, but they're probably not a lot of owner properties. There are probably a lot of properties that are being used as rentals. What you see in the next slide is your renter cost burden households. Renters are more likely to be cost burdened, and again, there's relatively small numbers. 34% of your renters are cost burdened, and what that means is that 74 households are spending, in some cases, upwards of 40 or 50% of their income on their housing, which means they're probably struggling. And 16 households, a little number, are spending more than 50% of their income on their housing, which means they're really struggling most months to make ends meet. So, I'm just going to keep rolling here, and then I'm going to stop and ask for questions, because I apologize if I've gone through this quickly. I think that one of the things, and again, thank you for the interviews, and Mear particularly, we talked to a lot of people, and we said what we wanted to be able to do was to have a set of recommendations that are meaningful to you, which is, I'm not going to suggest that you build a Taj Mahal, because you can't build a Taj Mahal. So what we wanted to do was have a set of fairly focused recommendations around housing that would help you sort of generate more new units and generate more new population. So you have some infrastructure investments to make. Secondhand needs to be improved, and there are water lines in that road that also need to be improved. The upside of that is, once those infrastructure improvements are made, you've probably got a really lovely set of housing sites along Secondhand with great views of the Ohio River. It's going to take you a minute to get there, but you've got a lot of great opportunity. The other thing there is that there are probably some properties in fairly poor condition that, I mean, there are gonna be some decisions to be made about whether properties get renovated or torn down. Sometimes blight removal and demolition is not a bad option. Comprehensive property maintenance program is probably appropriate. One of the things I think that is signaled by those low property values is that there's a lot of property with deferred maintenance in the village and it needs to be addressed in one way or another. It is, and that, you are not alone. That is true across the county. There are all kinds of communities for which there's lots of deferred maintenance. And it is, and people absolutely want to support their longtime homeowners. I know you want to support your longtime homeowners. You don't have as many cost burden longtime homeowners as some other communities. What you have is a lot of rental property operators who are not doing a very good job. That's a different kind of an enforcement prospect than trying to support it. I'm not suggesting you don't have low-income homeowners who need support, because you do, but you don't have a million of them. And so there's probably, you have to apply the building and housing codes uniformly to everybody. But if there are ways to support your longtime residents with loan and grant programs, that's one thing. You can ask them to be held accountable in the same way that you want to hold rental property owners accountable. You want to encourage reinvestment in downtown Main Street, and you need to get some clarity on historic regulations. We've talked to the county quite a bit about this so that they can help support you to clarify historic regulations so that they aren't a burden on property owners who want to do improvements to historic Main Street properties. Probably it wouldn't hurt to upgrade your zoning code, particularly so that it responds to, I know you haven't had a lot of development over recent years, so you haven't been doing a lot of rezoning activity. You've got some very particular sites that make a lot of sense for redevelopment, and they would add numbers to your community and population. There are probably some things you could do to make sure they're zoned appropriately, all that sort of stuff to make development consistent with what you want to achieve, and so that it's easier so that you can work with developers. I think also developing a reuse plan for the site along Main Street in front of the newly renovated park at the school site is also a really positive thing. Anytime you can be proactive about what your land use and zoning is doing so you can work with developers, you're gonna have a better chance of attracting that kind of development. So I think I have talked about pre-development for single family, but I want to show you the map. Essentially, we've identified a site up at the top on Church Street. I've talked about the site at Secondhand. I've talked about the site in front of the school park property. Those are three very solid housing opportunities for you all. The one on, and I think that those are really strong opportunities. Like I said, you've got a little bit longer a way to go on Secondhand than on the Church Street site and on the Main Street site, but they're all three very strong opportunities. They provide different kinds of opportunities for you. And I didn't do a capacity analysis on the three sites, but my guess is that between the three of them, you might be talking upwards of 100 units in new units in the village, which is pretty significant, again, for a small village. We got feedback on all three of these sites from all kind of folks in the community who are all very supportive. So I think, these are not sites you have to sort of fight your way through necessarily from a community standpoint. So I think that's positive as well. So the document, and I think everybody has a copy, right? So everybody has a copy of the document. I tried to sort of hit the highlights tonight. There's much more detail. And before I stop talking, which would probably be welcome on all of your parts, I want to talk a little bit about next steps. So we did this because you wanted to think a little bit more critically about what housing options there were in Addyston. This is being presented for your review and comment, so if people take a look and say, yes, but, or we should add, or we should take out, or whatever, what we got it wrong, please feel free to do that. We want your comments and we want to be able to make changes that make sense for you. Hopefully, this is helping you identify some priorities, and the idea here is that that the opportunity exists to collaborate with the county on a whole series of funding scenarios that would help you get to those objectives. And the county is willing to, and we're around to provide technical assistance to get there. I wanted to just highlight a couple of specific opportunities. You know about the 3-year Cvbg funding allocation. That's an allocation that could be used for a match for Ohio Public Works Commission, a larger grant to get you where you need to go on secondhand, as an example. Those Cvbg funds also might be available for some kind of a loan program to make improvements to residential stock that you want to keep and to demolish stock that you think is past its prime. I think that we had a conversation with the mayor about this. The port might have a role to play around demolition and site acquisition for individual properties. Home Investment Partnership Grant is available for new single-family and multifamily residential that's available to folks at low mod income, which is a category that's consistent with where you are to begin with. You could do up to $50,000 a unit on those, up to $500,000 for an application, which might be a good start to get you where you want to go, for example, in front of the park. There's a Cvbg mini grant program that might be available for some additional planning on Main Street, as an example, if that was something that you wanted to prioritize. There are community and economic development assistance program grants that come in a typically July to October timeframe, and the planning department is in the midst, not in the midst, I was actually on the selection committee. They are getting ready to do a model zoning code, and the idea behind the model zoning code is that it would be a model that any jurisdiction in Hamilton County could use, but then they would tailor it to things that specifically made sense for Addyston. So what I'm suggesting is there's some technical assistance that's going out there on the county, so you don't have to pay for a whole new zoning code, but you could tailor pieces of that to do what it is you want to do in Addyston. There's 2 other things that I want to mention to you. The county, as it is considering how it's going to spend its American Recovery Act funds, has set aside 2 big pots of money. One of them is for housing, new housing construction, and the other is for new catalytic economic development fund projects. You probably are most aligned with the housing recommendations, and I think those resources are going to be, I think communities who have done this work that you have already done are going to be ahead of the game for those resources. So maybe I will, as promised, stop talking at this point and ask if you have questions, and I'm happy to go back and I'm happy to respond to things that I didn't talk about if you have questions in the document. But again, I think what we're asking you all is to take a look, to let the mayor and us know how this feels, whether it feels complete, and then you'll have your document.
Liz, in helping us keep up with the various funding that may be available, best to keep an eye on the county's website.
Yes, and there is a process that is underway that the county is assembling a group of stakeholders, housing stakeholders, economic development stakeholders. Ernst & Young is doing the work. I'm on the housing group, which has its first meeting on Wednesday. So I'm sorry. So to say, I think that the county plans to take about the next 60 to 90 days to finalize the input region-wide about what best to fund, and then they'll be making program announcements, maybe even sooner than that. I think the economic development one is pretty cooked at this point. So I would say in the next 30, certainly 90 days, they'll be making program announcements. And then there'll be, and then it'll be what you expect. There'll be application periods, there'll be project eligibility, and they'll go. One of the things that we've said about this group of 5 communities is that I think that what you need collectively is gonna be a big piece of input into what the housing programs will look like. Because that was the point, right? The point was what's going on in local communities and what do communities need and how can the county be helpful? And I think, all of these have been very instructive in that way.
Anyone have any questions?
Thank y'all and thank you for having us into the community. I learned a lot about Addyston. It was great. And I appreciate everybody's time. Yeah, and take a look at the document and please let us know if there are changes or if we got stuff right or wrong or whatever. And we'll make a last round of changes. And then certainly the county is ready and excited to be supported. And the extent to which CBI and LIST can be still helpful, we will be. These guys know where we live.
Can I ask you one question?
Yes.
When will the model zoning code be available?
Well, the consulting team has been selected. I don't know, I shouldn't answer that question because I don't know the answer, but they are in process now. The consultant has been selected. I think it's certainly second quarter next year for sure.
Okay, thank you.
I have one question. I'm not sure how to phrase this. You were talking about people basically being a bulk of their income.
Cost burden.
Yeah, cost
Mhm.
burden, thank you. Are they, is that just money coming in via employment? Is that government funding, any of that?
So that's a good question. When people report their income, the way that it is calculated is any income that's reported. So a household, if you fill out your census form, census says how much money do you make, and it's in those categories and you check the box. So it's essentially self-reported. So if I say I'm making a bunch of money on stocks and bonds and I'm gonna report that, it's whatever each household reports their income to be.
Liz, would you spend just a minute on, some people get concerned when you're talking about low-income housing,
Yes.
about affordable housing for Addyston. Sometimes they get confused with affordable housing versus low-income
Yep.
housing and those type things.
Yep, so I went back to this slide because, so I need affordable housing. And nobody ought to be, no household that wants to have a confident financial structure in their own household ought to be spending more than 30% of their income on their housing. That's sort of a catchphrase that has been true and been identified by, if you go to a financial analyst, say, how am I doing? Or if you talk to your mother, you're my 26-year-old kid, I say don't spend more than, don't spend too much money on your rent. I don't care how cool the house is in over the Rhine. Don't do it if you can't afford it. That's the advice a mother gives her 26-year-old. It's the same. So the way that you figure out affordable housing is if this is your population, and it is, folks in Addyston make $43,333 annually. That's their median income. Half the people in Addyston make more than that. Half the people in Addyston make less than that. So, at a median income, homeowners have a median income much higher. They have a median income of $76,250. They shouldn't be spending more than $1,900 a month in their housing, whether that's for rent or whether that's their mortgage. That's a pretty healthy income. That's a pretty healthy dollar amount for housing. But if somebody decided to, do something really outrageous and they ended up with a $3,500 a month mortgage, they would be cost burdened. And they would probably have a hard time getting a kid into college. So I don't say that flippantly. So when I say affordable, the way that we define affordable housing is housing that anyone can afford for about 30% of their income. So if you're very low income, that's not a lot of rent you can pay. If you're higher income, you can pay more rent. I mean, that's the way it works. And so part of the conversation about, and you hear people talk about AMI and area median income, what they're talking about is for someone who makes less than $20,000 a year, and I used to know this number right off the top of my head, and it's not 20,000. For somebody who's making $15 an hour, something like $1,500 a month is about where they can go. And there's not a lot of housing available quick and ready in Hamilton County for less than that, much less than there used to be, and that is the gap. Thank you. I don't know if that one, so I have no idea how to get off this. So maybe I'll just turn my computer off and then it'll be done,
I
right?
think that, yeah, I think.
Okay, I can do that.
Are you into your
My
computer?
computer's
or-
off and it's still there.
There, okay.
Thanks very much, I really appreciate it. Thank you to
Thank you.
Dan and thank you to Mear, appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you for your time.
Next I'll just go to, West Side Paving, we're here to address council.
Thank you. I'm Chip Kay, I'm a lawyer, and I know Mr. Kelly for many years. And with me is Gary West, who's one of the two owners of West Side Paving. I'm sure the council's all familiar with the project and what's been going on. The reason we asked to talk to you was to see if we can find a way to resolve this before we get into a little litigation fight. We really don't want to do that. I mean, West Side's been around on this side of town for forever, since the 60s. I'm sure you've all seen their trucks running around. They'd like to complete the project. They're willing to give some accommodations to do that. One of the proposals we had was there was a change order, which is about $8,000. They'd be willing to eat that change order to essentially complete the project and guarantee that they'll throw the resources into it to get it done. I'm sure you all would like to get it done in the near future. They'd like to get it done in the near future. So we don't really want to get into a big argument about it. They prefer to get the work done, and we can make excuses, we can tell you why. It's not worth it. I mean, it's not for us. I'm sure you don't want to hear it. But we just like an opportunity to complete the work, and that's what we're asking for. And obviously, it's not going to cost the council anything at this point because they haven't been paid anything. They're not going to get paid until the job's done to your all satisfaction. So what we would like is an opportunity to complete the job. And like I said, we're willing to make some accommodations to get that done. And if we don't get it done in the near future, then we're going to be right back in the same position. So it certainly has put a sense of urgency on us. At this point, it's more weather dependent than anything else. So they've done some of the preliminary work, some of the gravel's in, some of the walking paths are ready to be blacktopped. He said that we went down and looked at it ahead of time. Some of the parking lot needs to be regraded, and I don't know if the correct term is compacted or redone so it can be blacktopped. But they have the equipment, they have the manpower. Gary, how long do you think it would take you to get it done, assuming good weather? Assuming good weather.
2 to 3 weeks.
So if we can have a few weeks with good weather, we'd like to proceed with the job and try to get it finished. Does anybody have any questions, comments?
Before anybody question comes, I also wanted to introduce, this is our village engineer,
Sure.
Sean.
Hi.
So we've been working with him as well. He's also trying to contact West Side so that they can work together on that. And I just wanted to let you know, we have him here tonight as well.
Okay. He's met Gary, this is Sean. Sean, this is Gary. This is the owner. I mean, he's not the estimator, he's one of the owners. He's the one that's been running the company with his brother. It was started by their dad. He's the guy. I'm sure we'll give him your cell number or give you a cell number, get in contact with him directly.
I believe I have your email.
Yeah, because you emailed and reached out to him.
Yeah.
So we can give him the cell number and see if we can get something done here. Like I said, we don't want to get into a big fight about it. Prefer not to, prefer to get it done. Comments, questions from anybody?
Sir,
Go ahead.
Nope.
Uh,
That's not the floor.
without sounding contentious about this, this was supposed to be done a heck of a lot earlier than it has been now. It's been put off and put off and put off. I was made to understand we had a large amount of gravel that was taken away from the site, and I'd like to find out what happened at that.
There has been no gravel taken away from the site. We have 400 and some odd ton that we put in. We don't have any money from the village. We haven't put a pay application in either. But there is nothing down there that was taken from the village, and there's no, I don't understand what you're talking about.
Yeah, we were puzzled by that when I saw the letter from Mr. Kelly and talked to him
Yeah,
about
there,
it.
I don't know who took it, but there was a pile of gravel that we had left over when we were preparing the parking lot, north parking lot, at least 7 tons that we were going to use on another project, and it disappeared around the time that West Side was doing their leveling. The amount of gravel that they put down for leveling, you know, I'm on the site every day. I never saw a lot of trucks coming in, bringing in a lot of gravel for the leveling process. I did. I was there.
How many
It's
tons?
not, it wasn't for the leveling process,
Oh.
Dan, it's for the path that we put in. We haven't done the
Oh,
leveling
okay,
part
great.
yet.
Okay, great.
And I mean,
That's
if we're
good.
If
Yeah.
you're talking 7 ton, I'll bring you another truck if you think.
Good.
But we can take no gravel from here.
Okay,
Why
we don't know where it
I mean,
went.
we
That's
still
okay.
need, we probably still need 500-600 ton yet to finish the
Oh,
project.
yeah, I understand that. I
So,
understand that. But yeah, it left, but I don't think anybody just backed in there with a pickup truck and shoveled it on their truck, but, okay.
No, I appreciate the question, and you're right.
I wasn't sure of my sources on that. Like I said, I don't like being contentious. Can we get some sort of a guarantee about how long this would take? Because with all due respect,
according
sir,
to-
it depends.
But according to the bid documents, the contract was signed April 30th of this year. We have 180 days from there, which puts us at the end of October. So we're still in our contract limits.
And
I mean,
again, hey, and again,
We're not here to.
I'm not trying to argue back and forth, I'm
Yeah,
trying
I'm
to,
not
just like
trying to
trying
either. I
to
just,
get this thing done and answer any questions what everybody's right here.
and again, we're trying to come to some conclusion on this.
I mean, if you're looking for replacement gravel, they'll bring in a few truckloads, and they're gonna be bringing them in.
I think the big issue is, if they do let them continue, when's the end date? And I know it's supposed to rain every day this week, but I think they want to know if it's going to be 2 to 3 weeks, you know, outside 4.
Weather
I don't
dependent.
know, I can't predict the weather as nobody else can, but I can rest assured that you will have it in this paving season.
So, but if we, with good weather, I mean, how,
Probably 3 weeks.
do you need a day to dry out in between before you work?
Yeah, I mean, just because it's raining today doesn't mean we can work tomorrow
I understand.
necessarily.
That's what I'm trying to clarify, is that if we can, you know, if we can get a couple good days in a row, they'll have people out here working. And if it takes 2 weeks, and then we have 2 weeks of good weather, it'll take 2 weeks. I mean, this isn't the front of their queue right now.
Well, in other words, I know just because I watch the weather and it's supposed to rain for 5 days this week, and I know they can't go out and just go out and put the rock down on top of wet ground. The only thing that I'm saying is, if they do have good days and it is dried out, I think the issue is, you haven't seen anybody over here, and they want to see somebody over there making progress, because that's the top priority.
Well, I agree with you, and when we got your letter, that's probably more on me than on them. So we need to go talk to the village. I don't want anybody doing work down now whether this is outstanding, because I don't know what the village is gonna say, so we wanted to get here tonight, and then, you know, kind of said, say this is the issue, let's
I
see if
think
we can
one
work
of the
something out.
hugest problems that we had throughout all this is the lack of communication.
Thank you. That's exactly.
I mean,
what I
really,
was
just a
saying.
lack of communication.
Not only that, just
Like,
common
what's
decency.
going on?
To answer phone calls, excuse me, Mayor, but.
Yeah, you cut me off on
Yeah, excuse me, but that is. I mean, I have tried to communicate with Westside over and over and over. I got a call list, I have email lists, and not even the decency to acknowledge, to say, hey, Dan, yeah, okay, well, we got this problem, we got that problem. That's what really sticks me badly, that there's absolutely no respect for this body, for me, for the project we're trying to do for our kids. Small community, got money, and thought we were going to get a job done this summer, and for our kids and our community to enjoy, but this be ignored. That is the thing, just absolutely
So I get the frustration, and I
I
didn't,
understand that.
Mr.
and-
Kelly wouldn't have gotten involved and sent his letter unless we were at a level of, crisis frustration essentially. So we certainly get that. All I can do is say, that we're sorry it happened. I'm not gonna make excuses, and nobody wants to hear them. We're here. Like I said, we're willing to make some concessions. If you want some extra gravel, we'll bring some extra gravel. He's willing to waive the charge for the change order, which will save the village $8,000. Give us an opportunity to get it done, and it'll be done this year, unless we have the arc go floating by. So, and ultimately, the village controls the purse strings. I mean, until the work is done, there's not going to be a pay application, and you're not going to pay anything. So, you have ultimate control over it because you control the money.
And with that, if you could call me down instead of calling Mike Tyler, that would help us.
Yeah. So the reason he's here, he's the guy. So the buck stops there.
So you're talking about definitely getting it done by the end of the fiscal year?
When's the end of the fiscal year?
December 31st?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, is it gonna be done within the next couple of months?
Oh, yeah.
We're not looking for next spring or anything.
The plant's closed in
November.
End of
November, early December. When I called and talked to them, that's the dates that they gave.
So it would have to be done
Before
sometime.
Thanksgiving.
Yeah, basically, because of the blacktop plant closes.
Right.
And then, so yeah, it would have to be done within the next 4 to 6 weeks at most, I would think, and really it's more dependent on weather than anything. Like I said, you can move to the top of the line. If they've got a couple of clear days, they'll have people out here working. You'll see them. So they've got the resources, they can do it. So it's really up to you guys. Like Gary said, Dan, if you want to, Mr. Pillow, if you want to call in directly, I'll give you a summons to call in directly. And let him know it's a problem, or if there's a problem, and that we're trying to make this right. That's all I can tell you.
Now it's on the floor, council, because this is addressing the legislative body here. Also, Sean, do you have anything to add? while we're-
Should have asked you.
I guess the only thing, and I was just briefly going through the contract documents that over the past few weeks, and I know this is funded through Hamilton County HUD fund or CDBG fund, so it's federal money. Generally, there's prevailing wage requirements, and I don't know if you submitted any of those, like certified payrolls throughout this time.
We usually submit them with the pay application.
Right, well, they're, typically you do, but they're required throughout to ensure that your employees are being paid.
Well, that's what, but I mean,
Right, but you've never submitted a,
no, we haven't submitted
Pay
them.
app.
We haven't submitted a pay app, we haven't submitted anything.
With the county did early on, this has been going back a while,
And they switched
Send
administrators or
yeah,
people.
and saying that that was one of the criteria, and the county was satisfied with that particular part. Now we'll have to see if the county has those actual signed papers or not.
right, yeah, and I know Joy at the county left and Dominique is taking over as the project manager for the county. So, if this project does get, resumed this in a few weeks, it sounds like.
We could lose that.
I'll be involved working with the county to ensure all the contract requirements.
Well, we can submit the records to you today without even submitting the pay application if you want to see
Yeah,
them.
typically that's how they're done. I mean, normally, they're submitted to the village and the village reviews them, but I can review them on the village behalf.
Well, the thing I'm saying is that, and what he's saying is that's reviewed as part of the pay app, or sent in as part of the pay application. We don't want to do the pay application until we have the work completed,
Right.
but we can submit the preliminary information so you can get through it.
Yeah, so if there's any gaps, obviously there's been a long,
And they don't submit them to us, just. so you know.
Everything goes to
It
the
goes to the
county.
county.
Because we haven't
Okay.
asked them to send us any money. The
All right.
county deals directly with the vendor, and all the paperwork's with them, and then at the end and completion sign off, then they'll send me the documentation where it's
okay, so
a
they're doing the
finished product.
certified payroll. Okay, yeah, and that's, since I'm just now getting involved in this project, there's a few things that we'll have to work through on review responsibility. But
Get you wherever you want.
yeah, in terms of, I guess, schedule or practicality, it'll be nice if we can get something in the contract. I know it says the end of October, we're probably now closer to the end of November, which is fine, but, you know, I just don't want it to go too long. And I understand that, you know, it's weather dependent, but I know that the county is really trying to push to expend these funds sooner than later, because it's, I guess they're getting heat from the federal agency that gave it to them. So that's how I got roped into this.
Talk to Mr. Kelly about it. I mean, we're happy to, if they want to do a contract amendment, whatever you recommend, we're fine with. But I didn't, again, the position we're in right now, the last thing I want to do is promise something that can't be delivered. Because that's a whole other issue. I mean, I'm being very honest. We'll come and do what we can as soon as we can. And, you know, like I said, he's got a long time. And honestly, it's more, this is a smaller job, but it's more a reputation than anything else. They've been around a long time. They take care of their customers. They want to get this done for them.
So we were talking initially when you walked up, you said maybe 2 to 3 weeks. And it's October the 4th. They just want to know that by, say, Veterans Day, that's better than a month to get it done.
That's what's
They want to
11th.
see
Yeah.
Yeah.
November
You
11th.
think that's enough time to?
This side goes.
With the caveat that if, you know, if it rains 3 weeks in a row.
If it have to rain
Yeah.
21 days in a row.
Yeah, yeah, I think that's
Your point?
Gary.
You say November 11th, we're at November 4th, that's 5 weeks.
We're on October 4th.
October 4th, 5 weeks.
Yeah, because they said 2 to 3 weeks
2 to
initially.
3 weeks with good weather.
And we're
So
saying,
only saying that's only gives the 2 weeks of bad weather or weather days, it's questionable.
According
But I
to the
think
weather
it could.
report tonight, we're supposed to have rain all week, supposed to be dry on the weekend, and we're supposed to have another dry spell for the following week. In fact, we're supposed to be up to 80 again, 70s and 80s. So
Well,
that's some dry.
if it's dry for the weekend and it's dry next week, then they would be here working, I'm assuming, on Monday.
in other words, I think what they want to do is just to make sure that if they see a west side paving truck, it's not going to Cleves or Sailor Park, it's going to that.
No, I completely get it. So I think November 11th is, and again, I don't want to over-promise and under-deliver. We would rather, you know, get it done earlier than that if possible. I mean, they want to get it done. If they get it done in 2 weeks, we have dry weather, they'll get it done in 2 weeks. So, yeah, so you'll see the trucks out there working. And ultimately, you control the purse strings. They're not going to submit a pay application until the work is done. You'll know if it's done or not.
Mr. Kelly, what's in order? We rescind our letter, or we vote for a new part of the contract?
You can do an addendum to the contract and say it should be completed by, let's say, November the 18th. You have to have it done by November the 18th, under any reasonable circumstances. So you put in there November the 18th. Nobody's getting paid unless the work gets done.
And if we can get it done sooner, we will.
Is that acceptable to
You
you,
get paid
sir?
sooner.
Now,
Well,
I
where did
recommend that with that change order or contract amendment, that you also include that $8,000 deduction that
Correct.
would not be.
Yeah.
We haven't been issued it anyway yet, that's one of the stipulations.
Right, but we want to make sure that scope of work gets added to the contract, that way it's not just lost in the email. So,
Yeah, that's
no fee, but then you change the contract end date.
Okay, given set up the addendum, thanks again. I'd like to move that we go ahead and grant them the time to go ahead and do this, that it be done by November 18th. I'd like to make a motion that we vote on the same. Do I need to add anything to that?
With the addendum.
With the addendum, yes.
Yeah, and as a part of that, we'll make sure that they're rescinding the change order cost.
Right, that's the addendum.
As part of it.
Yeah.
Yes. Okay, great.
So does everybody understand that? Okay, cool.
I'll second that.
Motion by Dan Dalton, did you get all that? Second by Dan Pillow. Is there any discussion, council?
I have a question.
Sure.
Well, with the county, then Sean is supposed to be looking over the project and getting everything back in order, you know, as far as the trails, the walking trail, and making sure everything fits in. Have you seen the plans that were originally drawn by the previous person for that original? I can't remember the
Yes.
guy's name.
Yeah, it's,
Theo,
What was his name?
um,
No, not Mark.
Theo, or, the architectural engineer, Theo, I can't think of his last name.
Me neither.
it was part of the
Johansson.
plan, right? The master
Two
plan.
different, yes.
Yeah, so I have reviewed those pretty loosely at this point, but try to get my head wrapped around what was contracted to be complete and what was completed to date. And this was a month or so ago. But I will be working with the county on trying to make sure everything's in order for them to close out the project and for you guys to be reimbursed or for them to pay.
Because with the changes that had to be made in the walking track or trail or whatever you call it, then there was movement on location of ball fill and some other stuff. Just want to make sure we can still get all that stuff in.
Yeah, the biggest thing in terms of engineering is making sure it's ADA compliant. Generally, I mean, it's pretty flat out there, so it's generally not a concern, but making sure that we maintain the 2% max cross slopes and longitudinal grades, no more than 5%. But yeah, we can review it as construction resumes. We'd be on site to help with that.
Yeah, so if you're on site at any time, I've had my blood in this for the last 3 years. I'd be more than happy to talk to you. I really want to know what your thoughts are.
Sure, yeah,
Yeah.
and I'll get our inspector, who will probably be more day-to-day in the field than me, but yeah, I'll be involved.
Yeah, thanks.
Motion's on the floor.
Yep, any other discussion?
Serious.
Yeah, Dan Pillow second. She's got it. All right, we'll vote.
Dan Pillow,
Yay.
Lisa Stafford. Yay. Dan Dalton,
Yay.
Ann Pillow,
Yay.
Pam Jackson.
Yay. So we put, this is a little late, but if we put in that contract that this is not done at the specified time, do you start paying us or what?
That's what's in
That's what they contract.
I just want to
Yeah.
make sure, because this has been going on for so long.
I think it's $500 per day.
Yes.
There's a penalty clause.
Maybe 1,000.
So thank you, y'all. I have a question for you. You were talking about, then you, sir, Mr. Dalton, talking about the gravel. Is this something you need sooner down there to do some other
Well,
work, or?
Council has approved for me to spend money on the wall, which we're gonna work on tomorrow to get the gravel behind that wall that we're building.
So you need the gravel sooner rather than later?
It's ordered. It's coming.
Obviously, I just didn't know if you needed it
No.
now, because you can get you a few loads, or at the end of the job, we can just leave extra down there.
Well, it'll be there tomorrow morning, so we won't
Okay.
need to
Well,
redo that. We'll
Just stay in touch with Gary and let him know if something comes up, okay?
Yeah, absolutely.
We'll take care of it. We appreciate your patience, okay? Thank you.
Thank
Thank you for your time.
Thank
You
you.
have a question here.
I should.
Something, so we can get in touch with you. I can have him.
You want me
Thank
to
you.
go?
All right, thank you very much.
Yeah.
Excuse me, Gary,
Yes.
do you have a card?
If you wanted to go ahead and just email you the pay apps.
Yeah.
Not the apps, but the actual, the backup.
Yeah, I just want to make sure
Oh, this is.
Uh-huh.
I didn't catch
Thank you,
it.
sir. You're
They're removing all that.
A cell phone?
Yes, Bob.
With them.
324 00.
Thanks, Gary.
Kate, C-A-T-E.
Got it.
C-A-T-E. Yeah, I haven't been down here a long time, but my dad was a friend of Vic Stinger's, if any of you knew Vic.
Oh, wow.
So,
Yeah.
yeah, going way back, and
Yeah.
yeah, he was friends with Vic and Kathy, and
What a
and
great guy.
and I used to go down there and shoot at Stinger's when I was
Yeah.
a little bit younger, a little bit less gray. Thank y'all.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Did you have anything, Sean, that you'd like to address the village besides that?
I guess the only thing.
Since this is the first time half of them are seeing you.
Yeah. So, I'm Sean Riggs. I took over for Mark Klusner, who retired, I guess it's been about, 2 years now?
Yeah.
So, I worked with him probably a year before, while he was transitioning into retirement. We have a lot going on in the village right now. We have, First Street Stabilization Project. So, we were successful about a year ago to get, MRF funds for preliminary designs, to know what we're, just see what we're working with. We had some Geotech Study, we come up with conceptual plans, and cost estimate, then we're able to use that to get actual OPWC emergency funds to pay for final design and actual construction. So final design is probably, I would say, 60–70% complete at this point. We're working with the utilities to relocate some overhead lines and some gas main. There's a lot of utility work going on because also MSD has a project that is planned for that road, and we're actually going to be right in front of it. So there's some utility work that's going to go on. Then ideally we'll be going to construct that wall soon, so the road won't be repaired. Yes, necessarily. I would say maybe this spring. It really depends on the utilities. Is what we're trying to push for. But the wall should go in sometime this winter. Then summer is when we hope to at least repair the road, restore the grade, and it won't have the final surface because MSD is going to dig it up right behind us.
Oh dear God.
So
why do they do that?
Well, they've had this project.
Invariably it happens.
Yeah, but at least we talked to them, so we're not going to waste money paving it, and they are actually going to pay for the surface, the final surface coat. Wow. So it just happened to work out.
Yeah, that did work out in my favor. That's what I was talking about. He can explain this better than I can.
Yeah, and it's a big sewer main, so a portion of it that's in the creek now is going to basically get eliminated, and the gravity line is going to go into the road. So it's about 20 feet deep. So it's not going to be
Is this storm sewer or
sanitary sewer.
Okay.
Yeah, we're not, with our roadway improvements, I think there's only a little bit, maybe one catch basin and a short pipe of storm sewer going out, and it's shallow.
Okay.
So nothing too involved with the drainage on that road. So that's this First Street project. We also have the Main Street project. So we were successful in getting the new SORTA funds for that. So that covers only construction costs, and I think that award was $400, close to $500,000 to basically just resurface Main Street and put a new concrete bus stop in there by, I guess that's, what is that, southeast of Church? I'm trying to figure out the direction of the
While
head.
we're talking about concrete, when those buses come in the summer and they make that stop on Dining, it's like a dog hitting carpet on a hardwood floor. That stuff starts piling up at the end and tearing up. Is there any way, we had that issue on South Road too, and when the Hamilton County engineers got a hold of it, I believe it was, through suggestions of our maintenance guy and some other people, that they put concrete at the bottom of that hill to keep that slide from happening. And I'm wondering if they could do that over on Dining, since it's such a short area, but when the buses come in off of there, they're going 45, 50, and they're stopping right there, and that's when all that piles up. When we did this road out here last, was how many years ago?
Well, plus, because remember us talking about the rippling effect down there going on. And it's also when all this traffic's coming in and making that left turn come down.
Right.
That's all rippled up and then coming in, yeah.
And it's, it's basically part and parcel the same thing. Because, I mean, they're nice enough to, cough up all this money. I would definitely like to see it last.
Right.
It's great if you get a nice, shiny, flat new surface, and then, 6 months later, it's going to pot again.
Right, yeah, so we'll take a look at the rutting and the heaving areas. Generally, you're right, you can address those with the concrete roadway instead of an asphalt roadway. It's just the nature of asphalt. But there's also things you can do to increase the strength or hardness of the asphalt. You can put gilsonite in, you can put fiber reinforcement.
That's it, start throwing the big words at me.
Well, gilsonite, it's an asphalt additive. It basically makes the rock a lot harder, so it doesn't want to heave and rut. You know, asphalt, as it gets hotter, especially in the summer, or when buses sit on it at like bus stops, it just sort of deforms it.
Right,
generally.
understandable.
But there's some things we can do with the asphalt mix to help, you know, counter that. But you're right, generally it would be a concrete pad, but we'll definitely take a look when we get into the design of that. We're probably, in fact, I have our kickoff meeting tomorrow internally to get started on those plans. So you'll start seeing or hearing more about that, and I would say by the end of the year, you'll have a good handle on and you know, close to a final construction plan. Because the goal for any paving type project is to bid it January to March, just to get on the contractor's books. So if we get on early, we get competitive prices, we get on it early, so.
Well, you saw how that worked out. So, yeah, I just wanted to drop my 2 cents in there.
No, that's great, yeah, I appreciate that.
In the design, Sean, where the buses sit, obviously that's gonna have to be reinforced as well.
Yeah, so we would use a concrete bus pad will just follow SORTA's or Metro's bus standard pad.
Yeah, and now they have 2 buses
Right.
who sit there. So I just wanted to see if that was
Yeah,
in the design as well, extending that area.
Right, so we'll look and we'll see if what we can do without increasing the cost too much. We did think through that a
Because I
little
think we
bit.
talked about that the last meeting,
We did.
about having the one bus pad there and then just putting the other one right in front of it. Because the posts are far enough apart that it fit right there.
Right, and I think in the estimate, when we went for the funding request, we did have some additional sidewalk and some curb replacement. So that's a lot of the cost too. It's not just the bus pad itself, but realigning the sidewalk and curb around that area. Generally, I don't think storm drain is going to be an issue on that side, but that's something else that we'll take a look at. So that's it for Main Street. Then we also have Secondhand Avenue, and that was discussed earlier with the number of issues that's going on with Secondhand. So we've have a Geotech Study. It's like I'll call it a windshield assessment. It's basically just an overview. It describes the general soil conditions along Secondhand Avenue and in the region, and just describes sort of what you can observe from a windshield, just walking down the roadway or driving down the roadway. And this is 2 years ago now that was performed. So with that, they had some recommended cost estimates, and that was just basically for the stabilization, the walls, the drill shaft pier walls. Well, we've been working to try to find the best funding source because it's a major project where, you know, it's easily into the couple of $1 million, maybe in my mind, I think the right of way and utilities, we're probably hitting around $5 or $6 million project overall. But we're working with Ohio Emergency Management on brick applications, building resilient infrastructure or communities. I forget what the acronym stands for, but it's a good funding source because it's intended to stop emergencies before they happen, and that's what we're dealing with Secondhand. It's slowly getting worse. I've got enough documentation over the last 2 years that side-by-side photos and just like it was on First Street, it's continuing to get worse. Then you also have, within that stabilization, you have the roadway, you have all the utilities, you have the housing, you have it's a major infrastructure rehabilitation project. So there's other funding sources out there. We're just trying to frame it the best we can to get funded. We already went to brick last year, and they said that we had a great application, it just, they didn't have enough funds. This year, they have a little bit more money, and they're allocating it a lot differently. And we've been talking with them, and we have a pretty good chance. In fact, we submitted our pre-application last week, I believe it was. So hopefully, we'll get something on that. But it's a large project that it, unfortunately, is just going to take some time to go through. Just because we, at this point, we don't know what we're dealing with and the overall scope of things. But that'll be a major project and a much needed project for the community. Then with the infrastructure too, we're also working with our water resources guys are looking at a proposal to, and this is the $40,000 mini planning grant that was awarded to do the water system assessment. So we're providing the engineering, the technical resources for, I forget that.
Wayne Cannon.
So he's doing the report, we're doing the capital improvement plans and looking at some of the testing. So you'll see people out there turning valves, putting meters on things, just doing an overall assessment of the water system. So then that report will be provided. I don't know the deadline. I don't think for us it's a lot of work. I think it's maybe 3 months worth of work, but I don't know when the report will be finalized through Wayne. And we're still working out some of the scoping issues with him, but I think that covered everything we got.
I think you did.
I don't know how much.
It's a lot. It's a lot, yeah.
Really appreciate
I think
that.
so.
Really appreciate it.
You explained it better than I did, so thanks.
Oh.
I come back and I tell them things and I think, well, you know, thanks for coming in here and getting that all laid out.
The Main Street project goes how far?
It goes from Dining to the end.
Oh, no more bump over there by the post office?
That's on the bus too.
That's the only way you
Yeah, because right here when they stop,
Yeah.
Full Main Street,
Yeah.
when you say the end to the dead end?
Yeah, to the
Oh,
dead
wow.
end. So yeah,
Didn't know that.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
thought it stopped at Germany. Okay.
no, it's a
Well, the
complete
sort
reserve.
of is kind of like, that's because of there, wasn't it?
So the sort of bus
Because
route
that's our
stops at
bus
Germany.
route.
Oh,
The funding is eligible up to 3/4 of a mile away. So even when we start looking at Secondhand and we get a better handle on what's going on and we're ready for some construction dollars, that's another funding source. But at the moment, they're only looking at construction funding, not planning or engineering stuff.
because they do use Main Street occasionally,
Right.
south of, or west of Germany.
Oh, really?
Oh, yeah.
Close to us.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. they
When we
definitely-
have an event and shut down the street.
Yeah, something's going
Then
on.
they just
they'll
keep
go
it
down
going.
and use that, and they have for a lot of years, so.
Okay.
We were kind of hoping that would be a part of the whole structure.
Yeah.
Yeah, that they would consider doing all of that, because they still do use it. And it's within the 3/4 mile.
Mhm.
Yeah, they do.
Yeah, so with Main Street, it's resurfacing for the most part. There's be some spot, curb repairs, spot sidewalk repairs, looking at the storm drains and repairing inlets and replacing breaks where needed. All right.
Great.
Well, thank you guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank
Appreciate
you
it.
for coming in, Sean.
No problem.
Might as well just clear the audience out, Sean. Phil?
Yeah.
If you'd like to address them.
Yeah. As far as, I guess the lady from Hamilton County that was doing it, I was wondering, is the bottom still Addyston property over there? Is there any way that could be?
Talking across 50 and.
Isn't that what they call it, the bottoms?
Yes, it was.
Oh, okay, now I get what you're
Absolutely.
saying.
My other question, you had something with a police car cell, and you said you had tried to get through, and do they still have a number for the police in an emergency, like say?
Oh.
I think it was last meeting, I was reading the meetings minutes, a couple.
Yeah, I may have asked about how to contact the police
Right, because in the
directly.
past, I had it in my speed dial, like
Right.
Addyston police car, and now I don't think it,
Now it goes to the county.
County dispatch.
okay.
Done.
And then the website, you guys don't have any contact info, like, I couldn't find an email address, like, it's updated, it looks great, but the way it used to be set up, you could like, see emails, like, cause
Yeah, you used to be able to click like on somebody's name and it would take you into the email to them, right?
so, and then
Yeah,
that,
just have them, make sure that those
Yeah.
are.
the reason I needed that was I was gonna copy you guys on, so we had an overpayment issue with, when I was on council. I don't know if you guys got contacted by the Attorney General. So I got another letter
Everyone
with
did.
more, so I got through today to a lady named Melissa Merwin. And when I gave her my, so you give her your customer service, or your account number, and then this customer reference number, and she's like, well, you have like 11 different charges on here. And I'm like, well, why? And then she said, well, hold on. So she looked at it. She said, oh, they put everybody's under your name. Well, even though it only said I owed, well, you know, I'm up to 55 or something like
Yours
that.
is, it's been paid, it's been turned in.
I know, so I took a
I
picture.
just
She
don't
gave me her
know.
email address. She said, send me the receipt that I had that you wrote out. I took a picture of it, emailed it to her. She confirmed that she got the email. She's sending it through. But I don't understand why did this, because she said it wasn't something that they took up, like, oh, we need to go get these people because they haven't paid this. It was like it came from Addyston.
When they did when the local
Audit?
examiners did the audit, those people who, like yours was an overpayment when everybody got the $50 raise, okay?
Right.
It was my fault that it wasn't taken off the following month. But everybody has paid up everything, my receipt that from the treasurer when she made the deposit, my receipt, the receipt out of UAN, all that stuff had been sent to Betsy Amend, who is the manager. It's been sent to Eric Pastel, who's another one. It's sent to John Bolt. I mean, all these people get the same stuff, and believe me, you're not the only one that's come in.
Didn't you?
I wanted to congratulate you, Phil, because you got yours taken care of with one phone call.
Well,
This
I
is
got
the
to talk
third
to
time I've
first.
sent my damn
Well,
information into these people.
it has
Not
been-
blaming Margaret, I'm just saying the word cluster doesn't go far enough.
Believe me,
It's been a mess.
I've been flustered about it too, to know that I made sure that they had everything 2 and 3 times, and that seems to be the way this particular group works. I don't know why one can't tell the other one, hey, by the way, here's all the people from Addyston. Oh, by the way, I mean, they just, like I said, Bernard come in, different ones have come to me, and I've had the proof, and I've sent it to them, and I don't know why they're still doing it. Hopefully tomorrow, I'll get an answer, a face-to-face answer.
Actually, we have a meeting with Betsy tomorrow morning,
Oh, good.
Well, they told me that mine,
so.
to look for a letter from them about mine being taken care of by the end of this week, so.
So you are
If I
okay
get it.
then?
I thought it was okay the last 2 times I sent all this crap,
Well,
so.
I actually not only sent it by mail, but I actually took and sent everybody by email. And I know that 2 or 3 of them have sent me emails saying, thank you, Margaret. They said they got it.
Right. That's all I got.
But believe me,
They said they got it.
it's been a
What's they're gonna do
nightmare.
about it?
It's like they got it,
It's
so now
very
what?
frustrating,
Yeah.
because it's like sending everything to them again, forwarding more emails. I don't know if it's because they consider it being junk maybe attached to it because the file's so big. But believe me, tomorrow, if I have to, we'll just take the hard copies of everything with us and they can see it. So I apologize for anything that happened on your end.
Cool. Thanks.
Margaret, just a quick question. Will they take off those assessments that I gave on those people?
I assume they will.
Okay.
We have a meeting tomorrow and we'll definitely find out.
Because some of them were assessed because they.
extra fees and this.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, no.
Right,
That should never happen.
But, especially when they had the proof that it was taken care of.
right, yeah.
Especially when they have receipts and everything. I don't understand what that happened.
I don't know, I sent them 3 times this last time, when I called, I finally got somebody, I said, look, y'all gonna have to send an agent after me because I'm not sending another damn
Because we
thing.
all had the $50. Well, they tried to get me for $400. Whoa, wait a minute, I would have noticed that. No.
Believe me, this is really taught. I know a lot of people don't like it when I say I need this in a motion, they need a resolution, I can't do that. That's why. We didn't have this with the other company. And even before Wayne and Charles Baskin did the audit, I don't remember Wayne, Frank, and that staff that were the auditors of state who come in here. I don't remember them ever being like these auditors. I don't know if it's to stretch it out. I don't know, but it hasn't, believe me, it hasn't been fun for me.
So the state's getting their tax money back.
Yeah.
I don't know if you've heard or not, but Audrey wants to go back to work. And she wanted to give her a report so she could go back to work whenever we get there.
Yeah, well, that's why I just finished
I
out.
appreciate- yeah.
Because we knew we were going to do that first.
Yes, absolutely.
I can just go to her first. Are we finished with, thank you, Phil.
No, thank you.
We'll just go ahead and go to the treasurer's report.
Thank you. My question, everybody should have a copy at the top. You'll see that the first page is July. There was a typo on the July report that I had given Margret Ann for the last meeting. So it has since been updated. The August report that I have done matches what our bank statements are. But I was just informed that there's some paperwork that I do not have that I will get with Margret Ann on to remedy the negative from the water department. But at this time, I can go ahead and read the treasurer's report from August. Our total council control funds for August was $251,052.54. Between receipts and expenditures for the total council controlled funds, we have an ending balance of $236,298.22. The water controlled funds starting balance was $73,420.27. With our receipts and expenditures, that left them with a $93,831.27. So the grand total of the combined funds for the beginning balance for August is $324,472.81. Combined receipts and expenditures leaves an ending balance of $330,129.49. And again, there's pending changes once I get the documentation that I need.
And that documentation had to do with adjustments that the Betsy Essman's group had me make. Where she shows it's a negative, my system shows it's a positive, because money was put back in that fund from some of the adjustments from receipts. So she and I will work together and get it so that it's straightened out.
I make a motion, we accept the treasurer's report. With amendments to follow.
I'll second it.
Motion by Lisa Stafford, second by Pam Jackson. Is there any discussion? Do you have something to add?
No.
Okay, I thought you were kind of like, well, that's
No,
not bad.
with the amendments was what I was waiting on.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right. Call for the vote.
Dan Pillow,
Yay.
Lisa Stafford,
Yay.
Dan Dalton,
Yay.
Ann Pillow,
Yeah.
Pam Jackson.
Yeah.
I
And Audrey would like to be dismissed, council.
Make a motion, we excuse Audrey.
Second.
Motion by Lisa, second by Dan. Call for the vote.
Ann Pillow,
Yay.
Lisa Stafford,
Yay.
Dan Dalton,
Yay.
Pam Pillow,
Yeah.
I'm sorry, Ann Pillow, I thought I said Pam. Pam Jackson.
Yeah.
Must have been my
Mix the
mouth's
names
really
up.
dry.
It balances out, we got interchangeables on both sides.
Yeah.
Thank you all.
Yes.
Have a good evening.
It'll be a long one.
All right. Thanks for coming, Sean.
Thanks again.
All right, so we'll now go to the clerk's report, regular business.
Okay, you received the minutes from the September 20th, 21 council meeting.
Council, what's your pleasure on the minutes?
I'll make a motion to accept the minutes from September 20th.
Motion by Pam Jackson, second by Ann Pillow. Any discussion on those minutes? No discussion, we'll vote.
Dan Pillow,
Yay.
Lisa Stafford. Dan Dalton,
Yay.
Ann Pillow,
Yeah.
Pam Jackson.
Yay.
Next, you have pay ordinance 10A. This was for payroll, which was paid on September the 24th. All dispersed from the general fund, $9,594.18.
I'll make a motion to accept 10A 2021.
Second.
Motion by Pam Jackson, second by Dan Dalton. Any discussion? No discussion, we'll vote.
Dan Pillow,
Yay.
Lisa Stafford. Dan Dalton,
Yay.
Ann Pillow,
Yeah.
Pam Jackson.
Yay.
Next, you have pay ordinance number 10B. This is for accounts payable. From the general fund, $17,189.24. From street construction, maintenance, and repair, $1,017.99, for a combined total of $18,207.23.
I'll make a motion to approve ordinance number 2021-10B.
I'll second.
Motion by Ann Pillow, second by Pam Jackson. Any discussion? No discussion, we'll vote.
Dan Pillow,
Yay.
Lisa Stafford, Dan Dalton,
Yay.
Ann Pillow,
Yeah.
Pam Jackson.
Yay.
Tonight, when you come in at your station, there was the mayor's financial statement for Mayor's Court as of October the 4th. Money into the general fund, $4,398, to the state revenue fund for indigent defense, victims of crime, law enforcement, $994, and other revenue sent into the indigent alcohol treatment fund, $36, for a combined total of $5,428.
Make a motion, we receive the mayor's report from what date, October?
October 4th, today's date.
I'll second.
Motion by Dan Pillow, second by Pam Jackson. Any discussion? No discussion, we'll vote.
Dan Pillow,
Yay.
Lisa Stafford, Dan Dalton,
Yay.
Ann Pillow,
Yeah.
Pam Jackson.
Yay.
Okay. Last week, or last council meeting, you guys made a motion to pay for the ramp, the work at the ramp. James Vaughn did come in, received the check. He did take the check to the PNC Bank to get it cashed. He come to me the next day and asked me, that would have been Wednesday, he come to me and asked me if I could give him a new check because the check was made out to Diversity Concrete and Construction, which is how the quote was submitted. So he told me that his partner in this business is on disability and he couldn't cash this check. It would affect his partner's disability. I told him I could not do anything about this, that, what he submitted is what council approved to vote, and that's why I did the check. he asked me, he says, can council void this check and give me a new check? I went down to the bank to see if they still had the check, which the check has not been deposited. It's more or less like in limbo at the bank. I was told that if council could stop payment on the check for $33 and reissue a check. But the thing of it is, the reason that it's at the bank is because it's a business check and he was trying to deposit into a personal check or personal account, which is his mother's account, Margret Bond's account. And then when I talked to Terry, who's the manager down there, she said that they will not deposit a business check into a personal account unless that person's name is on it and everything.
Right.
So I'm bringing this to you. I spoke to Mr. Kelly today, and Mr. Kelly told me that the check was made out to the company that did the work.
That's
So,
just technically the end of our job.
I mean, I did my part of it.
That's who you have the contract with.
Right.
If you write a check out to somebody else who's not the company that performed the work, then you might be writing two checks out. That's probably a personal issue that he's got to resolve.
Yeah.
Right, how do we explain that to the money we're getting, reimbursed for or whatever? I mean, we're changing the name, doesn't that look like red flag on
Well, yeah, because it's not made out to,
the property?
That's kind of my question.
Does he
if it's
not
made out
have
to
a
personal
company
person.
account to deposit that into?
well, apparently it will cost him money to reestablish it, I guess, but Terry, I forget, Jarvis, at the bank Friday, she looked up online, the Secretary of State's businesses, and she said it is listed as a business. So I guess it's in good standing. I didn't dig that far into it, but I just want you to know in case he comes to any of you.
He put a bid in with a company name.
Yeah, well, we just need, if the company dissolved, I mean, he was the only guy out there doing the work, that wasn't I know he was under the company, but what do we do? How do we, is there anything we do to help this guy get his money? That's all I'm saying.
Well, I guess what he has to do is he has to, if the company's down, he's gonna have to pay to have a company with that name opened up so he can deposit that check.
As the company that we signed it with still exists, yes?
We signed a contract with him.
We signed a contract with the company.
Yeah, that's who
Okay.
put the bid in. The
But
bid
now
was
he's
put in.
saying that the guy that co-owns the company or something like that will
Well,
lose disability money?
He told me his partner was on disability, and if he deposited that, it was gonna screw up his buddy's disability.
There is no way, if you deposit that money to a company, that you're gonna screw up somebody's disability, because the money's going into a company, and the only way it's gonna screw up his partner's disability is if the company writes a check to that partner.
Exactly.
So if you've got two partners there, one of the partners is saying, hey, don't write the check out to the company, write the check out to me, you write the check out to the individual who wants it, then the other guy comes back and says, I'm in this company and I didn't get my check, where's my money? Well, we give it to your buddy because he told me about your disability. You're gonna end up writing two checks, and I would just explain to him, say, this is a company that did the work, that's who we wrote the check to. All the issues with the disability and everything else, you can go down to the bank, get a tax ID number, open up a checking account, deposit it, spend it any way you want. Our obligation was to pay you X amount of dollars,
We did.
and you got it.
I can agree with
that.
Definitely not too hard to open up the account.
No.
Well, like I said, I just felt that I needed to share that with council because he has come he come that time, and before then he was, pushing to get the check. So,
You have a bigger problem if you wrote a second check,
oh, I know.
because then the state auditor,
yeah.
regardless of the resolution, ordinance, or anything else you had, be asking you, say, why'd you pay 2 times?
No. It is not my intention to pay him 2 times. I wanted to bring this to council so there would be no stuff out on the street.
Okay, fine.
Tell him if he's got a problem, come to council and ask us questions.
Yeah, I thought he would be here tonight.
You know, if you've got a problem with council, you come to council. Don't hassle Margret all day long.
We don't, so that's where we're at with that.
Okay.
And if he comes to me, that's what I will tell him.
So you got it.
You know, this thing about disability is, no, it don't work that way.
Well, I just wanted to bring it to you guys.
Disability is
So
only dependent upon the money you earn.
Hey, our solicitor told us what we had to do, and that's what we got to do.
Okay.
That's what we got to do.
On another note, I do want to let you know that on September the 21st, the Village of Addyston received from the NEU grant. This is the one that we're supposed to receive another amount of money from.
Yeah, the first half is 49,000.
Yeah, well, we received the $49,023.50. This is the one that the Ohio Grant Partnership, and it's the American Rescue Plan.
Yeah.
It's part of that, but it's for funds for Ohio non-entitlement units of local government. And we had been registered, so.
I didn't think they'd do it that fast, because
Yeah.
I got on there and registered us for it.
Yeah,
And I didn't even think they would send us money that fast.
yeah, so.
And that's
then-
just a part of it?
That's
Yeah.
part of it.
Wow.
We're supposed to get 93 total.
Yeah, okay, yeah. Mhm.
But there again, that's something to look at to see if it can help with anything that, you know, that.
I was gonna say, what are the stipulations?
Yeah, that's what I'll-
Spin that.
Well-
Yeah.
We need to know that.
What
What are the
stipulations?
strings?
Yeah.
Yeah.
One of the, one of the things that you can use it for is water infrastructure. That is on there.
Water infrastructure, awesome.
So if we can take that maybe with that other grant,
Like meters, meter pits,
Yeah, meter the ones without meters.
valves, anything to upgrade the mess we're in.
That's great.
so that's something to look at. And then the water board has been looking for a new truck. They, their president, board president, Mr. Fry, went Thursday or Friday and went to Walt Sweeney Ford, and he has a copy of a description for a 2012 Ford F-150 LTX Super Cab body, and it's got the storage for tools and that on the back of it. And this hasn't went to the other board members yet, but it was given to me so I could look at it. So the finance committee or whatever, council, because council ultimately will have to approve this with how they, if they do it, if they go with this one, if they look for others, if there's anything out there on the state bid that's newer. But I wanted to bring that to
What's
your
the-
attention.
What's the price on that one?
The price is it's $16,316 and some odd cents.
How many miles that got on?
Really?
I think it's got 140,000 miles on it.
There's no way on God's green earth,
Sounds
mine's
like
a
a backup.
2017.
They should be able to get
They're-
200,
I'm
250 miles
telling
out of
you,
that.
trucks are the most expensive
Sounds
thing.
like a
Believe
what?
me, I know.
Right.
Tobacco, breaking down.
16,
The other one that
there's
we
gotta be
got.
something wrong with it.
Dawn, can you maybe,
The
do you
first
mind going out
No,
and making,
140,000 miles.
do you want a copy of it? I
That
just,
Very high.
no?
I
Okay.
really don't, I mean,
Not until they,
yeah,
Because I mean, they're still in the process
of looking,
too.
but that was just one of them. We don't
Don't
need
quit
to-
looking at Fords, first of all.
I did explain to
Yeah, I
their
won't
water
be buying
clerk
for it,
that-
but I ain't gonna lie.
that these things have to come before council before anything's a final.
sure.
That there has to be, like a credit check, an application, there's just other things, not just, you know, you have to pass like a resolution about it.
And they do know they can go through like this state.
Well,
meeting and stuff like
I
that.
have mentioned that to her, Elizabeth Walker, Lisa Walker. So, you know, I told her that there is, you can go to the website and put stuff in there for it. In the meantime, their truck has got one bald tire.
One.
Well, they're really, well, the way she explained it
That's all
was,
four.
well, but that's the worst one. And she asked for a purchase order to replace it, and my thought was, you know, I know they probably need 4, but if
They've got one bald tire. You
three
have-
really bad ones.
You gotta hit
Something's
2
going on.
bald tires, and you probably got something wrong with the front end, and the tire rod's probably a
Yeah,
problem.
well, yeah.
And you're gonna go buy one new tire and put it on a truck, and it'll be worn out and
I would
whatnot.
actually replace them, then pull that off after you pull the new tires off, put the old ones on.
Well, I mean, that's why I'm bringing it to you, so that you know that.
And then you have 4 spare tires.
I did have
Very
a
cheap
quote,
tires.
I did have,
Or buy some cheap ones, yeah. Just to hold over,
until they decide what they're going to do, but
yeah.
for 2 at, some kind of tar place that their new employee used to buy stuff from. It was 2 of them for $188. And, if we purchased them, if they were shipped to North Bend Auto, trying to make things work to get them on there.
Looks like Don holding his hand.
I priced 4 of them today for him. You can get 4 tires on that truck for $500. Then you're
On the
looking at,
truck, huh, Don?
that's 4 brand new tires around that truck, and then $100 to install, because I believe
Where
it's
at?
North, the 4 tires would be from S&S Auto, from S&S Tires, same place I get the police tires from.
Is it S&S Tires or S&S Wholesale?
S&S Wholesale, sorry. I'm used to S&S Tire, it's like 400.
Well, it does make a
Does North
difference.
Bend Auto give us deals or something? Because he just fixed my car today and charged me an arm and a leg.
We get, the
No.
tires we buy through the wholesaler, and we get a state bid. We do get a break on labor for the village vehicles, because we continue bringing him work. So
Right.
he cuts us a break on labor.
No, he had to do a tune-up on my car, and I know it's not easy to get to the coil packs in my car.
So, do you want to authorize this purchase of 4 tires?
That only makes sense.
Yeah, that's.
I'll make a
something I
motion
can
to
do.
authorize it, not just 1 tire, just replace them all. $500 plus the
$100.
$100
And
install.
he normally charges 20 a tire, maybe 25 on it because it's a little bit bigger, but I don't think it should be, because I actually think the cruiser tires are bigger than those.
And that's
Those
it.
are
The
16
price
inch.
for the tires that he had already was $188. But that's without putting them on, I'm guessing.
Yeah, it's 500 for 4 tires, that's for
No,
4.
the price that you had.
I had $188 for $2, but there was another price that I had from
But that
another
was
company.
without install.
No, that was just the purchase thing.
Okay,
You'd be
okay.
right
I was
around
just
600
curious.
bucks with install.
So it would be at that anyway.
Yeah.
Right.
I'll second it.
Motion by Pam, second by Lisa. Any discussion? No discussion, we'll vote.
Dan Pillow,
Yeah,
Lisa Stafford,
Yay.
Ann Dalton,
Yay.
Ann Pillow,
Yay.
Pam Jackson.
Yeah.
just a quick question. Do we have to approve small purchases like that are not contracts and other things like that on their day-to-day operation?
Well, they're gonna, ultimately, everything falls under council. So when they have those type of purchases, you do concur when they list them on the pay ordinance.
Right,
We haven't
okay.
seen one because that's why those tires are that bald.
Because we, you know, they had to get it.
I mean, we haven't seen that come through for a reason. We haven't seen any repairs for that truck come through. And that truck is in very bad condition.
Oh,
Real-
You're talking years. And that's probably why we're like, why are we doing this now? Because we don't see it.
Buy a new radiator cap, put a truck under it.
That'll be next.
Hey, sorry.
We face the tires and it'll really break down.
The window cracks in my spring.
Wait, is that?
Yeah.
Oh, my
You know what's
goodness.
gonna
That's all I
happen.
have.
They're gonna buy
All
the
right,
new
thank you,
tires,
Margaret.
we'll end up getting a new truck, and we gotta take them off, they're gonna be
Oh.
a different size.
The only thing that I have is that I wanted to bring up, I believe we found, I didn't get a hold of him again today, but I believe I found someone that's finally gonna get rid of these barrels. You guys have approved that in the past, but that was like, last year, I think it was around $900,
Oh,
and I guess
yeah.
we need
The
to.
paint and the
Bring
oil.
them in.
We store
That,
barrels,
that was
yeah.
through Harbor,
We-
Harbor
yeah.
Freight,
Yeah, so-
Clean Harbor.
It's been a couple years ago.
And we have added gallons to it, so I'm not sure exactly what it's gonna be, cause I just got hold of it today. We had an inspection of our building over there at the maintenance today. Everything looked great except for our wasteland.
Yeah.
barrels.
Mm.
So, we did get in touch with the guy today, he said he will come and get it. I just don't know because of the gallons, whatever, how much that's gonna cost, but I don't think it should be more than what you guys approved in the past.
I can't remember what it was.
It was like $900. You
Okay, it's
It seemed like it was
Because
a
it
lot.
was expensive, it went from
Oh,
like
yeah.
600
Yeah, it was a
something.
lot.
And then the last time Chip had came to us, it was, he asked for around 900 because of the price going up.
Yeah.
But that's with them, so I don't know,
Who's coming? Who's it?
I can't remember the name of the.
Clean Harbor.
See, I needed to get,
Clean Harbor's the one that we used to use, but
yeah.
last time we contacted them, they said they would come out, and they never showed up, and the money was never expended.
I didn't get him before council today, so that's why I was like, well, I'd still like the expense to get, well, it just says like a waste removal on a phone number. But anyway, so as soon as I get exactly who it is, then I'll email it to you guys and let you know.
Well,
Well,
I make a motion.
I mean, we need to get rid of this stuff.
I will
So
second.
whoever I can find to get rid of it, I'd like to go and get rid of it.
Yeah.
Yeah, because the price is just gonna keep going
Yeah.
up.
Why don't we just sneak it into the barrels they've got over here?
Oh, Lord.
Mhm.
You know, I've heard different people tell me, oh, we can go bury it across. I'm like,
Oh,
no,
my lord.
no.
So what are we saying on the map?
We'll take care of this.
Take it,
Up to 1,000.
take it over to Catalina in the middle of the night,
I
roll it
don't,
off the
you
dock,
know, honestly, it might be less.
Yeah.
So
and then set fire to it.
I'd like to get rid of it. So Dan made a motion
And she
I make a
seconded
motion.
it.
and Pam Jackson second. Was there any other questions, discussions on that? All right, call for the vote.
Dan Pillow,
Yay.
Lisa Stafford,
Yay.
Dan Dalton.
Yay.
Dan Pillow,
Yay.
Pam Jackson.
Yeah.
Thank you. Bob, did you have anything?
I just need a specific date or dates for that paid hearing.
Oh my gosh.
Dear God, again?
Still doing that?
I thought we were.
I thought we said that
Yeah, they can't-
2021.
September something.
Yeah.
I mean, October.
Yeah,
Okay,
you know
if it's
that.
at 19th,
But I don't know why we did 3 days, because I
Well,
only got.
We gave him a 3-day window,
Oh,
this is the way I understood it.
I thought that was a window.
Yeah, it was a window, I
is it
thought.
gonna start at 6?
The time I didn't know.
It, it has to, because some of us work.
So we'll start at 6?
Yeah, we talked about that at the last.
I don't know.
Then what I'll do is I'll schedule it for the 19th and the 21st.
October, right?
Correct.
19.
If it goes more than one night,
Okay. I'm
All because of 20th being the calendar. Court.
20th is what?
court.
Mayor's
and,
Court.
I'm gonna be out of town, the 20th, I believe, is that correct, Ann? Maybe, I think that's what I had. When's council meet, on the 18th?
Uh-huh.
And I'm gonna be on vacation, the 20th, 21st, and 22nd.
Does that mean if you're on vacation, you're gone too, I'm guessing?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, we gotta wrap it up in one night then.
Yep, the 19th is his only choice then.
I'll just tell them it's the 19th and we'll just go to however long it takes.
Sounds good.
And then if we could, I'd like to meet with council in executive session to discuss litigation.
Okay.
It won't take long.
So that You're giving him the 19th,
19th,
Was that 6 or
6 p.m.
starting at 6.
Okay, so I thought-
We can start at 5:30 if you want me to just come in my scrubs.
It's
Remember, Barry, because we might be here all night.
Yeah.
I'll just order some pizza, Jerry will bring it right into us.
There we go.
Just have everybody plated up. Yeah, what are you on? Alright.
So we're solving the 19th at 6, right?
Oh, Jerry laid it
That's all
right
you had,
up.
Bob?
Yes.
He'll bring the pop and everything.
I hear you.
Beer if we want it.
I don't think we have any on the books against that.
Any pizza and beer?
Sounds good to me.
Good idea.
Alright, moving on to committees. Dan, did you have anything?
No, Mayor, I don't have anything.
No way.
Oh, my God. Margaret, put that in the
I
minutes,
just want to get a
please.
date with
Is he
Lisa
sick?
and Ann concerning streets, housing, and all that thing. About 12, how's that sound for you? Oh, no, I'm sorry, 12, that's my birthday. Everybody gets kind of pulled up on their birthday, you know, that doesn't matter.
I don't know, I don't anymore.
The 14th through the 16th, I'll be in Nashville.
For you, how about that Monday, wait a minute, let me see, what's there, something?
Because there have been so many.
Monday's the 11th.
Yeah.
About the
I
11th.
don't have any more birthdays.
Is that okay?
Sure.
Okay, let's go 6 o'clock.
On when?
Okay.
Monday the
Monday
11th.
the 11th. Thank you so much.
And that is all of your things,
Thanks.
street and housing and all that?
The
I'm sorry.
Street and housing and all that?
Yes, yes, ma'am.
Yeah, that's all one committee.
Yeah,
Just to review things?
yes, we're gonna do.
Well, here's the,
I just need to know for the posting.
Oh, yeah.
Right, man, good.
so it is on the 20th. Thanks, Dan. Lisa, did you have anything?
No, Mayor, not at this time.
Thanks, Lisa.
Not at this time.
Thanks, Dan.
I need to be excused for a moment.
Okay. Ms. Ann?
Mayor, or Margaret, it's technically streets, housing / community development.
I'll do it tomorrow when I,
Ms. Ann?
I hate to say I have nothing. So, I'd just like to make everybody aware that tomorrow, Tuesday, the gravel will be coming so that the old folks group can put the gravel in behind the wall.
What time are they supposed to drop that off?
Getting it
They're
done.
supposed to drop it off at 8:30, 9 o'clock.
Between 8:30 and 9,
I'll bring my little helper.
please. And make sure he has a shovel.
I get ready to say, come and bring the shovel and bucket.
Okay.
That's all I have, I'm so sorry.
That's fine. Oh, damn.
The only thing I think it's time, we should be, I know Steve's not here, the finance committee.
Yes.
I know there's stuff we've been putting off long.
Yeah, no,
before.
we
know.
You
Yeah.
have to
So
do
we
that.
need to-
and I can
Yeah.
copy stuff for Linda.
Okay, so, I know she's not here, but.
Maybe that Tuesday,
When are,
the 12th, because she's busy on the 11th.
Let me think about the 12th, make sure there's nothing, because the 14th through the 16th, I'm going to Nashville.
Oh, that was canceled, you didn't hear?
No.
She's like, no, it's not.
Because on the 14th, Trace Atkins is singing in the Grand Ole Opry.
Oh.
So I
Oh,
will be there.
baby.
all right.
You will be there.
The
I
12th,
would be here either.
the 12th sounds okay to me.
Is Buck Owens still down here?
6 p.m.
On the 12th?
No, but the Catlin brothers are.
You don't,
They don't
you
get
don't
any
remember
walkers.
the Midwestern Hayride, do you?
Does
Yeah.
6 work for you?
Oh, yeah.
No, I'm not old enough for that, but I grew up on Hee Haw.
Trust me, you didn't miss a thing.
Does 6 work for you?
Sure.
It's all pending what,
And I grew up
We'll
in
see what-
Norwood.
Linda.
Mm,
And let's discuss, the budget. What else is on there? Something else?
The roofing contracts
We'll add those
Oh,
in.
okay, just,
and the dump.
You're the best guy on Hee Haw.
I can
You
keep
like
going,
this
I
guy?
guess.
well, keep,
Oh, boy.
That's all I can
I know
remember
there's been
right now.
something
$3.5
else. I don't know. if you think
It
of
just,
it.
yeah. put it up.
I think maybe Pearl.
And I know what
When we get to that. After we see them
After you see what
tomorrow.
happens tomorrow, we might have to add something.
Yeah.
That's all.
Thanks, Pam. Dom?
No, he always has something.
And it always involves money.
Yeah, this is gonna involve money.
And it's always last. Well, we're warning
Uh,
Big wears us down.
You know.
Like we discussed at the last meeting about the Tahoe for the fuel pumps, I got that pricing together.
I forgot.
Total will be around $650, that includes both fuel pumps and labor.
I know.
And I make a motion, we approve the fuel pumps for the Tahoe
Second.
Motion by Lisa, second by Dan Dalton.
for the price Don just said.
What was it?
It'll be 400 in parts and 250 in labor.
At North Bend?
250 in labor at North Bend, yes, and 400 in parts from Rock Auto.
Got him.
Any
Who
discussion?
made that? Lisa?
Lisa did, and then Dan Dalton seconded. And if there's no further discussion, call for the vote.
Dan Pillow?
Yay.
Lisa Stafford?
Yay.
Dan Dalton?
Yeah.
Dan Pillow?
Yay.
Pam Jackson?
Yay.
And the other thing I have is our RCIC printer has went by way of the dodo bird, so I need a new printer for RCIC. That's $239. I think it's free shipping through Staples, isn't it, Margaret?
Yes.
Everything I looked at that was like under $200 is out of stock or on back order.
Make a motion, we purchase the RCIC printer that Don needs.
I'll second.
Motion by Dan Pillow, second by Lisa Stafford.
You're in a hurry.
Any discussion?
Actually, the one that he's replacing is the old UAN, the first big black one that I had probably
It
about
lasted a long
10 years
time.
ago.
Wow.
I got about 8 months out of it before I decided to die.
Call for the vote.
Dan Pillow?
Yay.
Lisa Stafford?
Yay.
Dan Dalton?
Yay.
Ann Pillow?
Yay.
Pam Jackson?
Yay.
You're done, Don, sit down. You get no more money this time.
The other thing is, I'm not sure who the head of finance is now, but I'd like to sit down with them, discuss police budget for next year. I know you're getting ready to sit down and do that, but we're gonna have something pretty major we've got to look at. We need to look at in-car camera systems. The 2 systems I have now are about dead, and I have 3 cars without them. I am now down to 2 body cams as well. Out of the 3 that we have purchased, one of them has failed to hold a charge. It will only hold a charge for about 4 hours, and you cannot replace the batteries in them. Those were used when we purchased them, so.
Well, I guess the finance committee's a 3-headed monster now, right?
So,
Put that on the list, yes.
Okay.
And I'm
The
looking at
12.
ways to try to help us finance those now and trying to find the most cost-effective systems I can find. I know we can't afford $10,000 camera systems, anything other than that.
You been looking at any grants or anything like that?
Right now, I can't do the grants because our policy and procedure doesn't align with the state.
That's right.
what?
It still doesn't.
With us not having all the required updates with going on the policy and procedure manual we're running on, it doesn't meet the mandates for the state of Ohio for grants. The only thing that we're on with grants for was with the use of force, and that got us in for the vest grant, which we haven't had to buy any vests.
Can't you look through what we've got, the state procurement site, and see if they have it for other police departments and counties and stuff like that?
All
that
for
we're
pricing on their
members of?
cameras?
Yeah.
Yeah, and even at state bid, the system I'm looking at now is $2,000 under what state bid is for these other systems.
Well, it sounds like the police committee needs to have a meeting. And,
Give me that look.
Dan and
That's all I
We haven't
got.
had a meeting because the only
What is there to meet about? Is what you need, right?
it's
Well, that,
we're only
the only
talking
reason we've been
about,
holding
I guess
off,
we could
The
work
policy
on
and
it, yes,
procedures.
thanks.
we can't be doing anything with policy and procedure because
Right.
Have
we
you
gotta
sent
leave
the
it until
current
we're done with
policy
it.
and procedure manual to the state?
I haven't, the one that we have now,
Yeah.
I haven't got that in computerized form. All I got is that print version.
I'll send that to
The
you.
current, hold a second, the current one?
The one that we were working on, the one that's in that binder that we went through, that you and me went through when we were looking at everything for paid and all that?
Yes.
The non-electrical one? Yeah, I don't have that in a digital version.
So you need it in like Word?
Yeah, to send it through. I know that the use of force in that one needs to be updated.
You give it to me, Wednesday night.
I'll try to make copies of it.
I'll convert it to Word for you.
Okay. I don't even think I have a disc for that one, it's just in that, I'd have to give you the whole book.
I
You have to scan.
have a copy of it upstairs, Bob.
If you give it to me, I'll convert it to Word and you'll
I
have it
can
by
scan it
Wednesday.
and send it to you. I can
Okay.
convert, I think I can convert it to Word too,
Okay.
maybe. I can look.
They probably want it in an electronic format, I would think.
The use of force, the pursuit policy, I gotta look and see what the other things are that haven't been updated, because we haven't been using the Lexipol. So,
That sort of died.
Might have to borrow some stuff from Lexipol and put in there. Not everything.
Okay.
Can we do that legally? I mean, I didn't think so.
You can do it. Fantastic.
We're just adopting their
Would
words.
someone, are you finished?
I'm done,
Thank you.
sorry.
Would someone mind making the motion to go into executive session?
So moved.
Second. Motion by Dan Dalton, second by Ms. Hand, go into executive session for litigation
Yes.
purposes.
Turn the camera off.
I will turn the camera off.
As soon as I do the vote.
Yeah, call for the vote.
Dan Pillow,
Yay.
Lisa Stafford.
Yay.
Dan Dalton.
Yay.
Ann Pillow,
Yay.
Pam Jackson.
Yay.